welcome to the Fiber Broadband Association's Five for Breakfast. We're now on our 19th episode of 2025. And before we kick off, I'd like to thank Wesco, the platinum sponsor for Fiber for Breakfast. Congress is in session this week, marking another critical phase in the reconciliation process. House Republicans are racing to finish their massive bill by Memorial Day, with Republican members across key committees meeting throughout the week to iron out the bill's most contentious provisions. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation will convene a full committee hearing titled Winning the AI Race, Strengthening U.S. Capabilities in Computing and Innovation. Fiber is the critical enabling infrastructure for AI, not only for AI data centers, which require mass amounts of energy, water, and fiber, but AI is critical for network performance optimization and for the AI fiber home. The hearing will explore how removing regulatory burdens on the AI supply chain can boost innovation and solidify America's global AI leadership and competitiveness. Prominent witnesses will include Sam Altman, the co-founder and chief executive officer at OpenAI, and Brad Smith, the vice chair and president of Microsoft Corporation, among others. This week, the Fiber Broadband Association's Latin America chapter is holding its event in Sao Paulo, Brazil, during the Brent Global Congress, which is one of the largest ISP events in the world with about 25,000 attendees. And we're just 3.5 weeks away from Fiber Connect 2025 in Nashville, which kicks off on June 1st through 4th. We continue to see new attendance records every year for the past 5 years in a row. And this year we have taken Fiber Connect to yet another level to maximize the experience for our attendees. So if you're not registered, please go to fiberbroadband.org under events and register day. And you don't want to miss this special event. After Fiber Connect 2025, the Fiber Broadband Association will continue to work its way around North America. So far, our regional Fiber Connect workshops in San Antonio and Philadelphia have been sold out, and our next regional workshop will be in Anchorage, Alaska on July 17th. And after Anchorage, we'll be in Toronto in August, Spokane in September, Scottsdale in October, and Kansas City in November, with Palm Springs being our premier member meeting on December 8th and 9th. That brings us to today's Fiber Breakfast session. Our guest today is Erin Scarborough, the Senior Vice President of Mass Market Product Management and AT&T Services, to discuss the road to 50 million locations. Before I formally introduce today's guest, I'd like to introduce David Norris from our team, who's going to walk us through some housekeeping items.
Thank you very much, Gary, and thank you to everyone who's joined us. If you do want to register for Fiber Connect, you'll see a banner in the lower right-hand side of your screen there, so you can click that to register once the event's over today. Before I go over a few logistics, we'd like to once again thank our platinum sponsor, Fiber for Breakfast, Wesco. Now, as participants, you are in listen-only mode. To ask a question, you can type it into the question box, which is located in the lower left-hand side of your screen. And we'll be getting to those questions during a Q&A session with our panelists at the end of today's presentation. This presentation is also being recorded and will be available on FBA's website within 24 to 48 hours. And you can find that recording in the Events tab under the Fiber for Breakfast drop-down option. Finally, at the conclusion of today's presentation, you'll be prompted to complete a brief feedback survey. If you could take a moment to do so, we appreciate it. Your input is valuable to us. And with that, I will hand things back over to Gary to get us started. Gary?
Thanks, David. Good morning. I'm Gary Bolton, the President and CEO of the Fiber Broadband Association. Last week on Five for Breakfast, our guest was Jamie Lindeman, the research manager for Omnia, who shared with us her latest research on navigating tariff turbulence, implications for the fiber to the home broadband access market. Jamie walked us through the dynamics that may have both direct and indirect consequences for the fiber to the home broadband equipment market. So if you missed that, please go to our website and watch the replay. Today on Five for Breakfast, our guest is Erin Scarborough, the Senior Vice President of Mass Market Product Management for AT&T Services, to discuss the road to 50 million locations. Erin leads the team responsible for managing and innovating AT&T's product portfolio across broadband and mobility, as well as leading fiber and wireless 5G investment initiatives through participating in government funding programs and public-private partnerships. Erin has cross-functional responsibilities for product profitability, pricing, customer experience, product design, multi-year roadmaps, development, and value-add services across the product portfolios. Additionally, she and her team work closely with state and local governments as they assess their broadband access and affordability and adoption needs. Before joining AT&T, Erin worked at the BNSF Railway, where she evaluated investments and led capital expansion projects. So welcome, Erin, and for our audience, please type in your questions as we go, and we'll work those into discussion. With that, let's get things started. So,
thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, Erin, it's a pleasure to have you here. And, so I found it interesting that you started your career in the railroad industry, because I see a lot of similarities between, connecting a nation with rail and connecting our nation with high-speed broadband. It kind of reminds me of Dagny Taggart from Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. So you've been a part of AT&T Fiber since the beginning. Can you speak to how this all got started at AT&T and kind of how it's evolved?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I feel like it's a seminal moment for certainly for the company, but for me personally, having seen our first location turn up in Austin in 2013, which we called Gigapower at the time, actually, and we were trying to convince customers that, you needed 100 meg to download 187 songs in a minute. And the reason why upload symmetrical speeds with download speeds was actually necessary. And at that time, customers didn't really see the need yet, but we saw it. And we saw that in the future, bandwidth was going to continue to be demanded and continue to grow, that the bandwidth demand. And so we saw an opportunity from a cost perspective to start building this out, because we were building it all the way to VRADs with our VDSL services. So we said, well, what happens? What's the cost? What does that look like if we take it all the way to the home? And at that time, obviously, that was an extremely costly proposition. We didn't know how to be as efficient as possible. But the business case, as we wrote it, that 10-year curve, maintenance costs went down, build costs went down, and that continued to get better and better and better. And so we made that case with some of those assumptions that were a little hard to take in the stomach at the time, because that wasn't anything that we had as a reality. But it was an exciting moment when we started to do that. But I actually went out on some of those installs, and we had 7 trucks lining the street, the wrong size of fiber. So they had to go back. I mean, it took 3 days to install it. There were trees in the way, all sorts of other things that, we probably thought of, but didn't contemplate exactly how to do right. And it's really, again, a seminal moment to watch it today, where we're close to 30 million locations covered and counting, and now on this road to 50 million. So it's definitely proven out and continued to get better.
Tell me where 50 million came from. I mean, that's quite a target. It's about 130 million households across the U.S. And again, that's a very bold target.
Absolutely. So look, where we have fiber, we win. We know, like I said, that business case continues to get better. So the two things that really make the business case and the return more and more attractive are early penetration and lower costs. And, those early days when we were looking at it, there was only a certain amount that were really economical to build based upon cost. Well, those costs have continued to come down because of our scale and our relationships, and also what we've learned. So now we connectorize the fiber. We know exactly the distances to do it, and it's plug and play. We don't have to splice. It doesn't take a ton of time. And so now we see a much greater opportunity than what we saw then. We committed with the DirecTV merger several years ago to get to 12 million locations. And that was what was economical at that time and what made sense. But now we can look at it and say, not only can we do this in our footprint, we can do this with other people's capital outside of our footprint, in agreements like Gigapower and other open access agreements that we've entered into. Everyone needs fiber. I mean, truly, I watched that video at the beginning of the session. We're powering all of those things with our connectivity, and it truly does change the way people live. It's really amazing to watch, but everyone needs access to it. And so now that demand continues to increase, the costs continue to make sense, and that early penetration has started to pop up. We see opportunity to go to 50 and beyond. So we feel very, very confident we can get to those numbers. And in fact, the 30 million we initially committed to by the end of this year, we'll reach that by the middle of the year.
Wow, that's, amazing. During last fall, when John Stankey presented at your Investor Day, it talked about AT&T's fiber business case has been accelerated by 2 years because of, you mentioned faster penetration, but he also talked about the average revenue per user is much higher and being able to reduce churn, also greater convergence. Can you talk a little bit about how, we see this from Wall Street, how accretive fiber is from a market cap perspective, but from an operations perspective, it's also greatly improves your margins and efficiency.
Yeah, so as I said, the connectorizing, the actual fiber, and of course, just the scale of how much we're building allows us to realize better economies in terms of our build cost. And that demand is going up. And also, as you mentioned, ARPU is going up. So all of those components are working favorably in the business case. And you see that just, in the investment community in general, there is a lot of private equity interest in building fiber. In funds that never would have contemplated such a capital-intensive investment. And so in terms of the ARPU piece of it, we, on my team, are continuing to build additional features and products and things that enhance the customer experience and that they're willing to pay for because we're delivering additional value. And the latest of which is called All-Fi Pro, but basically that allows them to get a Wi-Fi 7 gateway, Wi-Fi 7 extenders, up to 5 of them, whatever will cover their house and their configuration, and also our most advanced security. So we come with, fiber comes with basic security, but we're adding that advanced VPN and safe browsing capabilities on top of that. So really just enhancing that experience from every angle. And Wi-Fi 7, it's amazing. I said, we were talking about convincing people to download 187 songs, which who the heck needed to get 187 songs in a minute. But now, especially since COVID, that bandwidth demand, because everyone is using Teams. There was several photos of that in the video at the beginning. That's where people are using that extreme upload demand. And so because of that, we can create a Wi-Fi experience with Wi-Fi 7 now that's up to 2 gig speed. So it's really delivering on basically any use case the customer wants to do, and providing, like I said, that incremental security and just that whole home Wi-Fi with the extenders and mesh experience that it really creates an experience that customers want to buy up to, a premium experience that fulfills all their needs, no matter how many connected devices are in their homes.
In my last house, I had AT&T Fiber, and I was struggling when Zoom called. I'm like, what's wrong? Why am I having so much problem? And I went and looked at my connection, and it was fairly poor. So I went and looked at the AT&T part, and I was getting 980, so almost a gigabit, and realized that just my Wi-Fi was horrible. And, it used to be the DMARC was on the side of the house. So can you talk a little bit about how you, kind of now, you bring it all the way to the desktop and the whole in-home experience and why that's so critical?
Absolutely. So as you said, now people are using bandwidth in their garage and in their attic. There's use cases for everything. My kids try to hide and play on the Xbox. So, you need that experience and that bandwidth and that speed everywhere in your house, not just to the side of the house, as you mentioned. And so now with these Wi-Fi speeds with Wi-Fi 7, they can get that. But, we really were a leader. Our Smart Home Manager app is kind of the companion app to our fiber experience. And, 8 years ago, we already had augmented reality capabilities to basically test the Wi-Fi speed, and it would drop breadcrumbs, kind of red, yellow, green, of like, okay, it's green speed. Oh, now we're starting to get yellow. Now it's red. Well, you need to put the extender where it's yellow to obviously extend that speed, because once you get to red, it's not even going to be effective. So it helped customers figure out where should we put those extenders. Of course, in our install experience, when a tech is there, they can also help the customer with this. But the companion app really helps them, again, with augmented reality and now going to AI, with that experience and really drive down costs. So with AI, we can now also have the customer say, okay, my service is out. They just take a real-time video of their setup of their gateway in their home, And it will tell the customer, okay, well, this cable needs to be plugged into this port, and that's the issue. And we can solve a lot of those things very, very quickly, real time for the customer, without them even having to contact us with some of this technology. But put on top of that, they had innovation in augmented reality from 8 years ago, and now on top of that, AI functionality and just the Wi-Fi 7 capabilities. It's really a really whole home experience and a fantastic experience for our customers who really do love it. And I mean, hear it from the source. Ookla actually recognized us as the fastest and most reliable. So that's the legit source of record, and we're being recognized for it. So it feels really, really good to continue to just enhance that customer experience.
During COVID, when everybody went to work from home, the IT departments had spent so much effort to protect the enterprise from a security perspective. And then as soon as now everybody's working from home, that enterprise extends to every home. So can you describe a little bit about how your enhanced security really enables more secure communications, not only for the enterprise, but also for all your personal, financial, and everything else you're doing at home?
Yeah, absolutely. So it enables a private VPN. Of course, that's really important to a lot of businesses who have their employees, where they don't know if their data, their enterprise data is protected while they're using connectivity at home. So it protects it from that standpoint. There's also safe browsing capabilities. We had a verbatim from a customer who actually, chatted back in and said, man, I'm not even complaining. I just wish I would have listened to the alert from ActiveArmor that said, this is an unsafe website, because I actually lost $15,000 in this transaction because I thought it was a real entity on the other side. So between that, and we continue to enhance ActiveArmor, it's also a companion kind of to the mobile experience, and has call blocking technology and spam block. There's a ton of additional security that we're adding into our ActiveArmor capabilities, and it really is the most enhanced when you have a converged relationship, because you have it on the wireless side as well as the wired experience.
Again, so that's on your convergence and your attach rates for wireless, being able to have these services transparent across different platforms. It seems seamless. Is that kind of key to the convergence?
Absolutely. So, I mean, look, where you've said it yourself too, where we have fiber, we win, but where we have fiber, we win ... in wireless, right? So that's been AT&T's real mission in expanding fiber. And I keep telling my team that. I mean, the real win here is, yes, we get really fast fiber penetration. Yes, we beat the business case, but even more so, we do that by adding the wireless on top of that. And so we've talked about it in our earnings releases, and certainly in December and Investor Day, about getting 4 out of 10 fiber subscribers choose our wireless, but that's growing year over year, over 100 basis points increase in that number, and it continues to go up. So we just see it getting better and better and better. And ActiveArmor is one of those capabilities, but another that we've just recently launched is internet backup. And what it does is it's a very seamless experience in our smart home manager app that I mentioned. It's 4 clicks. You just set it up basically that when you have a wireless connection with us, it will actually back up your fiber if someone cuts the line or something happens that the fiber goes out, which, obviously we know it's extremely reliable, but there are cases and blips where that does happen. Now, our fiber technicians that install are actually, they're not much for sales, but they're actually talking to customers and saying, hey, I can make sure this thing never goes down. You just need our wireless. And so now that internet backup is included with that converged relationship. There's no charge for it. It just works very seamlessly, and it's a very seamless setup in that smart home manager application. So that's our first true converged feature that we've launched. And then again, ActiveArmor is protecting you on both your mobile and your wired experience, and just more and more to come as we enhance those experiences as well. But we've already got great results, and now with these new products and features and kind of reasons to buy, we definitely believe that only gets better.
So I was with Robert Walters on Friday. He spoke before me. And, I guess he has about 14 or 15,000 people that are getting your deployment done. And congratulations on, coming towards 30 million homes here next month. And that's like 6 months ahead of schedule. So it's always great to see how well you're doing. But one of the things he was foundational to everything that his team does is what he called the AT&T guarantee. And it seemed to be driving every aspect of deployment and how the network's coming together. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
Absolutely. So you may have seen, we really launched it officially in January, but you may have seen some ads that reference a guarantee of our connectivity, our deals, and our service. And it's the first of its kind, and it's the only comprehensive converged guarantee of any of our competitors. And specifically on the connectivity side, basically what we're saying is we guarantee your service and you will not have an outage. If you have an outage, we will make it right. So it isn't just a marketing platform. It's actually just as you described, how Robert described it. It's how we work. It's our DNA. It's how we want to treat customers is we guarantee this service and we are going to make it right if we failed you on that. And the application of that actually, from a fiber standpoint, if you do have an outage, you will receive a text message proactively that says, Mr. Customer, we have an AT&T guarantee and you have been out, today we will credit you back a day's worth of service or however long the outage is, that many days worth of service. So we do that proactively just to tell customers, we are only going to charge you for what we're actually delivering to you. But also what that does is internally, everyone sits up a little bit straighter. We want to make sure that we're meeting that AT&T guarantee. And another part of it is our service. So in particular, again, on the fiber side, you will get to a technician, or excuse me, a technical care agent within 5 minutes. That's our guarantee to our customers. And also a tech will be to you if you have a maintenance issue or whatever it is within 24 hours. So we are committed to solving those issues quickly, to getting the service that you deserve and making sure that your service is continuously up and we make it right if and when that does not happen. But again, our metrics continue to just get better and better and better internally on performance because we have guaranteed this to our customers. So there's benefit for everyone all the way around.
That's great. So can you talk about, back in the day, you guys operated on a propensity to spend model. You kind of looked at income levels by zip code and kind of your investments, but you've expanded that and now you do a lot of public-private partnerships and have other models. Can you talk about how, as you go out towards 50 million homes, how you choose where you're going to be investing?
Sure. I mean, with 50 million, obviously, and we've always built to kind of a vast cross-section of Americans, right? Because everyone needs to be connected, and that is part of the reason for programs like BEAD and so on. Sometimes it's just because they're hard to reach. Sometimes it's because of the economically, but we want to connect every single American, and we definitely believe with demand and just how efficient that build has gotten, we can get very, very close to doing that. So in terms of partnerships, one, on the private side, I mentioned Gigapower. We started there, and then we said, hey, this is a great model. We've got a joint venture here, and we're putting in some of our capital. There's others who are very interested in doing this. We know how to do it. We know how to teach them to do it, and our brand is very, very recognizable in this space. So they want our brand on top of their fiber. Why don't we do that from an open access standpoint? Well, from that standpoint, we've got 4 partners existing that we've announced. Bolton actually is a specific use case on military bases. So again, we need to connect everyone everywhere. Connecting on military bases, Ubiquity specifically focuses on MDUs and a cross-section that has been underserved, especially in existing buildings, more so just from a cost and agreement standpoint. But now we have capabilities to go and reach some of those MDUs as well. So Bolton, Ubiquity, and then we've got Digital Infrastructure Group and Prime that are actively building in places like Arizona, Florida, and so on. So we're really trying to think about every aspect of the different dwelling types, the different terrain types, the different locations within the country, in and out of our traditional footprint. There's demand. there's definitely economics to be made, and there's customers to serve, more importantly. And that's who's at the center of all of this. And truly, I think you and I chatted a little bit. We're changing the world, right? We're enabling somebody with connectivity, a kid who's in school, who now has capability to do something innovative that becomes a household name in 10 years. And that's a really, really cool North Star vision as we continue to build it. Oh, I think I lost your audio.
Sorry. Yeah, so you touched on a number of things. The in-home experience, going beyond the DMARC. You talked about AI in the home, the convergence of different services. So can you tell us, from your perspective, what does the future of connectivity look like, and how is AT&T preparing to meet the evolving needs of customers in the coming years?
I mean, obviously AI is at the forefront. You may mention Sam Altman. He's now a household name. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, no one knew who he was. And so technology evolves so fast that I don't know who the household name or the household technology is going to be in 5 years. None of us do. What we have to do is make sure we have capabilities to feed those future demands, no matter what they are. And that's, as I advocate in Washington for, certain ways to approach BEAD funding, for example, we really have to put fiber at the forefront. Obviously, I don't have to convince you. You have an entire Fiber for Breakfast program. But as I continue to talk to them, fiber is the future-proof solution. And if, as a proof point of that, we were building fiber to our wireless networks starting in the 70s. And some of that fiber is still, in commission. So it's been, live over 50 years. And so that's really the future-proof solution. We now can test in labs, up to 25 gig symmetrical. So there will absolutely be a service that, fulfills the demands of the future, whatever those AI applications are, and whatever the new instantiation of technology advancements happens to be.
So can you talk a little bit about the Connected Learning Center, being able to get access to, access, affordability, and adoption?
Absolutely. So, starting again, as I advocate in Washington, yes, we need to get this fiber access to every household, but it cannot stop there. And so the access piece, even from the standpoint of making sure that there's enough resources in the country, we can certainly create jobs, but that there's enough resources that are trained to do this. So starting with access, of course, the BEAD program focuses on that, but also we need those resources. So we've partnered with Corning in North Carolina to do a technical program in one of their technical colleges to actually train people up to be a part of that workforce. So starting there. And then, from an affordability standpoint, we have our access program internally. Basically, every player has some flavor of that to make sure it's affordable for customers. But then the adoption piece is really where, where I said some kid is going to get their hands on this and they're going to change the world. That's absolutely going to happen. 100%. But we need to make sure that every kid has the capability to do that. And so with that adoption, we've created this Connected Learning Center initiative, and we have 50 now. We're going to go to 100 or more by 2027. And so what it is programs and different things basically that allow people in community centers, think Boys and Girls Clubs, places like that across the country, where they can come and they can actually get their hands on using the internet. But not only that, there's different programs and places and sessions where we teach people how to build a resume, how to look online for jobs, how to get education online. And so that's really where we put the power in people's hands that haven't had it before. So we're teaching them and really getting them to adopt. And there's other programs that we have with companies like CompuDopt, where we're actually enabling people to get the devices that they need to connect to the internet as well. So really thinking holistically about the customer experience and how to really solve this problem from not just one standpoint, but all of them.
Well, Erin, I have a comment from someone in the audience from Mississippi saying the Mississippi Broadband Association has enjoyed the customer-driven approach that AT&T has taken in Mississippi, and they say, and sure across the nation. And they wanted to give a shout out to Michael Walker from your team, who's working to connect the unserved and underserved broadband serviceable locations in Mississippi. So I want definitely to provide that. I just want to end maybe this is a little bit personal, but I understand that you're very involved in breast cancer awareness and education, and also involved in Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Can you talk about, I mean, you know, as we get fiber out there, I really see that's elevating quality of life for generations to come, but it sounds like you are very service oriented, and, you know, maybe just, and you know, a few thoughts on.
Absolutely. I'm extraordinarily passionate about this because, you know, I was diagnosed before the age of 40 with breast cancer, thinking that there was no way it would happen to me. It wasn't in my family. And 1 in 8 women. So, you know, whether you're a woman yourself or associated with one, we all know someone that will be affected by this in their lifetime. 1 in 8. So more than 10%, you know, just if you think about it as you go through your day. And the results are so significantly better if you catch it early. So I am a huge, huge advocate of people getting their testing, doing all the preventative measures, but also the detective measures for early detection. And I'm specifically involved with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. In fact, I had gotten involved because one of my son's classmates in first grade passed away from leukemia. And while I was serving as part of the board for the Dallas chapter, I actually was diagnosed with breast cancer myself. And what I learned was blood cancer research is the foundation for all cancer research. So, I mean, just a huge kind of implore all of you to say, please get involved. I know every single one of you has been impacted by cancer in some way, shape, or form, and blood cancer research is actually going to find the cure for all of them because it starts in our blood. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. I'm so passionate about living big and living out loud, because we don't know how many days we get, but there are things that we can do and be aware of and pass on to others to make that quality better. And shout out back to Mississippi. It's been a great relationship, and I appreciate every bit that we're doing to truly connect people, because it also connects people to things like telehealth and opportunities to again, enable people to create a cure, create research, just like on LLS, on blood cancer, that might just not only change the world, but heal some of the world. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about it.
Well, I mean, it just goes to you're the right person for this role, just, you know, because this is all about passion and being able to get people connected and be able to change lives with world-class healthcare, education, and jobs. So thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for AT&T's leadership on showing why it's, you know, you're putting your private investment dollars into getting everybody connected. And I
thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And look forward. Thanks everybody for joining us today, and look forward to getting back together next Wednesday. We're going to have Christina Wilson, the CEO of Old Harbor Native Corporation, to discuss Project Nunapet, connecting tribal communities and cultures across the Kodiak Island in Alaska. So you're not going to want to miss this. Really interesting on what's going on in Alaska. So thanks everyone. We'll see you guys next Wednesday. Thanks again, Erin.